Have you noticed something strange lately? It's not just that prices are going up, it's that everything feels heavier. Groceries feel expensive, rent feels aggressive, a coffee feels like a bad financial decision. And it's confusing because no one ever told you, hey, next year life will cost 15% more. There was no vote, no announcement, no envelope in the mail saying, congratulations, you're paying more now. And yet, here we are. Most people explain this with one word, inflation. But that word gets thrown around so casually that it almost feels meaningless. So today, let's slow down and talk about something uncomfortable but important. What if inflation isn't just an economic phenomenon? What if it's actually a tax? A tax that nobody voted for, a tax that doesn't show up on your paycheck, a tax that quietly drains your savings, your time, and your future. And once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. At first, inflation feels chaotic. One month, eggs are expensive. The next month, it's gas. Then rent. Then insurance. Then everything. It feels messy, unplanned, almost accidental. But here's the thing. Inflation is never random. It doesn't come from nowhere. It doesn't just happen. Inflation is always the result of decisions, human decisions, political decisions, financial decisions. The reason it feels confusing is because it doesn't hit all at once. It creeps, it spreads unevenly, it hides behind excuses like supply chains or global events. And by the time people notice, it's already done damage. That confusion is not a bug, it's a feature. Because confused people don't organize, they don't resist, they adapt. Let's strip this down to the basics. Inflation isn't about prices going up. Prices going up are just the symptom. Inflation is about money losing value. Imagine you and I are playing a game. There are 100 tickets, and those tickets buy everything: food, housing, energy, comfort. Now suddenly, without changing anything else, someone prints 50 new tickets. No new food, no new houses, no new energy. What happens? Each ticket buys less. That's inflation. Nothing broke, nothing exploded. The numbers just changed. And here's the uncomfortable part. Inflation doesn't feel like theft because nothing is taken directly. Your money's still there. It just quietly buys less every month. Now comes the part nobody likes to talk about. Governments hate raising taxes. People notice. People get angry. People vote differently. They also hate cutting spending. That angers voters too. But inflation? Inflation is sneaky. It raises government revenue automatically. It reduces the real value of debt. It pushes people to spend instead of save. It makes deficits feel manageable. Inflation is the only tax that doesn't require a vote, doesn't require a law, doesn't show up as a line item. It's politically painless, at least at first. Think about this. If prices rise 10%, but your salary rises only 3%, you didn't get poorer on paper. But in reality, you just lost 7% of your purchasing power. No invoice, no receipt, no explanation. That difference? That's the silent tax. It hits savers. It hits people on fixed incomes. It hits anyone who played by the rules. And the cruelest part? People blame themselves. I should have budgeted better. I should have worked harder. I must have done something wrong. But this wasn't a personal failure. It was systemic. Inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. The wealthy usually own assets. Assets often rise with inflation. People in debt? Their debt gets cheaper in real terms. But the middle class? They get crushed. They hold cash. They save. They earn wages. Inflation eats all three. It doesn't look traumatic. It looks like stress, like anxiety, like feeling stuck despite doing everything right. This part surprises people. Inflation helps debtors, asset owners. Governments. If you owe money, inflation reduces what you owe. If you own assets, prices often rise faster than wages. If you run a government buried in debt, inflation is a relief valve. This doesn't mean inflation is a conspiracy. It means it's convenient. And convenient tools get used again and again and again. Here's the key question. If inflation is so powerful, why don't people vote on it? Because it doesn't arrive as a policy. It arrives as a process. It's framed as temporary, necessary, technical, out of our control. It's not presented as a choice. It's presented as reality. And you can't vote against reality. This isn't new. Rome did it by reducing silver in coins. France did it with paper money. Germany did it with printing presses. Modern nations do it digitally. Different tools, same outcome. Every time inflation was used to solve a short-term problem, it created long-term damage. Always. Today, money doesn't get printed. It gets typed into existence. Stimulus, bailouts, liquidity injections. The language sounds complex. The effect is simple. More money, same goods, higher prices. The system feels abstract, but the consequences are very real. Once inflation starts, stopping it hurts. Raising rates hurts borrowers. Cutting spending hurts voters. Letting markets fall hurts confidence. So governments hesitate, they delay, they hope, and inflation quietly keeps working. Inflation doesn't just change prices, it changes behavior. People stop trusting money, they stop saving, they chase risk, they feel anxious, they feel unstable. That instability isn't loud, it's psychological, and it reshapes societies slowly. So here's the final question. If inflation is a tax, and nobody voted for it, and it hits the people who did everything right, then what does that say about the system we live in? Not a collapse, not a conspiracy, but a quiet shift. And once you see inflation for what it really is, you start asking very different questions.